Hi, my name is Marcus Roberts, and this is my original story. I came to Florida State University way back in the 80s to study piano with Leonidas Lipovetsky, who's a fantastic pianist, studied with the renowned Rosina Levine at Juilliard. And I wanted to learn how to play the piano better so that I could pursue a career playing jazz music. And that's what brought me there. And also, I was very interested in playing in the band at that time because I hadn't had a whole lot of experience. I was like 17 or 18 when I came here. So just to be able to play in a real big band jazz environment and to study classical piano and to get a chance to grow and learn at a great university was really what got me here as a student. And then I left Florida State to start touring. In 1985, I went on the road with Wynton Marsalis, who of course is an acclaimed trumpet player and educator and all of that sort of thing. And I played with him for several years, and then after that I've led my own band since then. And I came back to Florida State to teach in 2004 after doing a House Wright Scholar residency in 2003. So I came back to teach, and I've worked with many young people. I've mentored many of our jazz students at the school, and many of them are actually in my group, bigger group, which I call the Modern Jazz Generation, which is a community-based group that has mentorship at its core. And again, as teachers, that's what we want to do anyway when we work with students, is to teach them and to encourage them and to give them the tools that they'll need, whether they end up playing or teaching or as entrepreneurs, but the tools that they'll need to keep that community spirit going with whatever people that they tend to work with once they're done. Well, you know, the funny thing is, I was in my senior year studying piano performance, and I left to go on tour in '85, so I was a senior. So they awarded me my degree right before I came back to teach. But so it was a bachelor in piano performance. I mean, I did like 135 hours of coursework, so I was pretty close. But again, my dream and what I really wanted to do was to perform on the stage. So when I got that opportunity, I took it. But it's been great to come back and try to give back, you know, to the community, to the students. And I do feel very fortunate. We have a great jazz program here with many great faculty, many great students. And I think that, you know, things are going to continue to go well because, you know, the students, every year, I think that we're getting a better quality level of achievement from our students. So I think some good teaching is going on right now. Well, Florida State is a very diversified school. I mean, it's liberal arts, so young people get a chance to take a couple of years and figure out like what they really want to do. It's a chance for them to socialize and get to know each other. It is the capital of the state. We have a very acclaimed football program. We have a good basketball team. So, you know, there's a lot of diversity. And in terms of music, I mean, we've got over 100 of many talented, diversified areas, you know, from opera to strings to, you know, jazz, which is the area that I'm in. And I think what makes it special is just, it's a small town, but it's expanding. And we have a really good group of kids from all over the world, all over the country. And I think as people get to know more about what we do here, I think we keep right up with all the other great schools in the country. I think for me, jazz is a way to express an individual point of view, but inside of a shared agenda with other people, which is a big part of life, right? Learning how to collaborate and cooperate to get things done with other people. So jazz music is a great language to learn how to do that as an individual, but again, inside of making room for other people's voices. So I think that's what attracted me to it. And I started off playing in church, at my local church when I was a kid. And I heard Duke Ellington on the radio when I was 12, and that's really where it all started. And since then, it's gone from being like, okay, self-expression, this is my identity, this is who I am. But then, you study these great masters, you study what made all of these other folks so incredible in terms of playing and their philosophy of life as well. And then that leads to more self-discovery, real good communication, which is a big part of performing in front of an audience. But then ultimately what you want is that final stage, which is when the audience and you feel the exact same thing when you play, then that becomes like communion. So that experience is what jazz has offered me, and I like to share that with as many people as I can. It's a team effort. What makes it really unique and special, music itself, but jazz in particular, because think about it, in life we have clock time, right? Whatever time it is, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and everything exists in relation to time, seconds and minutes. But in music, we have another way of looking at time, which is based on how fast the song is going to be. So everybody has to agree on that. And inside of that time, that's where all the magic happens. That's where all the magic occurs. So right there, you have to agree on things, and you have to agree on, well, what key are we going to play in, and all these kinds of things that the public really doesn't care about. But in the end, the goal is for people to feel something, whether it's photography or music or painting, communicate something that people who are not in your field can still gain an appreciation and some inspiration from, and help solve some of the problems that they're dealing with, or to give them a perspective that lifts them up during their day. I think I never really thought of it like that. I really think of it in terms of I'm only as good as the next show I play or the next note that I play. So I don't ever assume that I'm there. I try to make sure that I continue to improve and always strive for the greatness that I've heard in other men and women in music that I've admired, like Ella Fitzgerald, the great Ella Fitzgerald, who was never satisfied. She was never one to say, oh, that's it, we're there. So for me, obviously being blessed to put out recordings and play major concerts, at Carnegie Hall or with the Berlin Philharmonic and things like that, those are certainly, if you want to look for quote unquote proof, that would probably be it in terms of how a layperson would view it. But for me, every time I reach a milestone, I never allow myself to succumb to feeling like, okay, that's great, you're there, that's it. It's more like, well, okay, well, what you got next? What you gonna do to bring music to more people? What are you gonna do to help mentor more young people in a better way? How can you become a better educator? How can you become, frankly, a better citizen? Like, how can you continue to work on yourself? And especially when I think of myself having a visual disability, and I think of the unfortunate truth that the blind children in our country have a literacy rate of 10%, okay? Like only 10% of them can read Braille. So for me, I have to do everything I can to be an example, to encourage those young people as well, and to be a symbol that you never give up and you don't ever be satisfied. Always find the next thing that will help you communicate in the best way you can so that you're understood, which will then help other people understand the people in your position. So that's, for me, how I look at it. I've had moments, certainly, of self-doubt. Music is a very intense and a very, very competitive field. And I was not really necessarily one of the most talented young people in my generation right away. But I was always, even as I say that, I was always very confident though. So it never stopped me from asking for opportunities, you know. So I auditioned for a lot of bands when I was in college and would call people up and say, yeah, can I join your band? They'd be like, well, we already have a piano player. And I'd say, well, I know, but I want to play too, you know. I said, well, why should we hire you? Well, I don't know. I just know I want to play. So I think there's self-doubt, but I think that's the thing with ego. Like you have to balance your confidence. You have to balance that with a good sense of humility and a good sense that, well, there's still a lot of work to do. And I think if we as artists can get that right, and it's hard because, as you know, creative people in general don't like to be told too much. I mean, creative people have their view of what they're doing, which is essential to doing it. But again, you have to balance that with listening, right? Being able to listen to other people, which again, that's one of the values of playing jazz music, is that listening is probably more a part of being successful than what you're playing. Being able to hear what other people on the bandstand are trying to do, finding a way to listen to them and to figure out what you can do to uplift and help elevate what they're hearing so that that's heard. And that combination of everything is what creates that team environment that we see in sports, you know, that we see in other areas of life. Yeah, I've been blessed to have many moments like that. I think when I see the young people that I mentor make a huge breakthrough on the stage, I mean, that's very meaningful. In terms of myself, I would have to say one of the most meaningful musical experiences I've had was when we did Gershwin's Piano Concerto in F major. Like I did a jazz arrangement of it for my trio, and we performed it with the Berlin Philharmonic in front of like 20,000 people, and with the great Maestro Seiji Ozawa, who conducted the Boston Symphony for years and years. And that felt like a very important day. I mean, it felt like a really good day for jazz music and classical music, because we were able to bring those two art forms together, like at the top level with top people. And that did feel very special for me, that I was able to participate in that. I don't know. I'd have a hard time. Any place that has like really incredible food for me, but really any place where, you know, you have like different kinds of people where you can learn a little bit about their language, their cultural customs, because again, art is about preserving ceremonies that people have, you know, the folk traditions that people have. That's why I always tell people, art at the end of the day, if it's not posing solutions, if it's not providing answers to problems, I can't do much with it. And some music that I hear, I mean, I hear that they're laying out what the problems are and that everybody's mad, but I'm like, well, you got any solutions to it? So for me, and that's what I challenge the young people that I work with, because, you know, they can tell you all the things that are wrong. And I'm like, well, are you gonna do something to help fix it? And so that's what I feel art is designed to do. That's why the root of the word is artificial, which means that we're using the piano, which is an artificial instrument. Like it doesn't grow in nature, right? So in other words, we're using all of these mechanisms to create real issues, though, see? So even though we're using artificial means, we still want an organic, natural reaction from people. So for me, that's really the big thing. That's why we practice, that's why we rehearse, and ultimately that's why we perform in front of people, to give them some solutions, or if not solutions, at least a good feeling that they can take home with them and then get up the next day and fight the battle all over again. I just would encourage people to support your local arts organizations. Come and check out the young people when they're playing at Florida State or wherever. You know, I would just encourage people to know that jazz music, classical music, and of course all American music, it's all about you. Like that's really what it's for. So when people tell you, well, this is too sophisticated, or I don't really understand that, just know that, well, your life is complicated, right? So the music exists because of who we are. So I would just encourage people to, explore as much music as you can and just support the arts in general.